All right, good morning, Bismarck Man, and Dave Flohr here.
And Greg Larson.
And Jim Walsh.
Jim Walsh.
The master
The guy
of the
pushing
board.
the buttons.
Yes.
The guy pushing my buttons.
He's a master at it.
Okay.
I've been gone.
I gotta tell you.
Oh, you got to tell me. Okay.
Jim, as you know, has a talk show.
Yes, he does.
And,
I'll be on tomorrow, by the way.
yeah,
You're doing it tomorrow. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
last week, Friday,
Yeah.
he was on. I was listening to him. And let me just compliment you on being a provocateur of conversation. I was
Thank you,
listening to what
sir.
you were saying, and I just got the giggles. And I thought, boy, oh boy, if I didn't know Jim, I would be on him like stink on a skunk.
What was he talking about Friday?
Well, the vaping thing.
Talking about vaping, and you talked about some policy, and I thought, man, it was great. I mean,
Thank you.
Oh, I
It was-
listened.
it was great. It
Did
should
you
have,
switch to Fridays now?
Well, I've been
Because you've
filling
been
in.
on Tuesdays.
This being the summer, a lot of folks need time off for various things.
Okay.
So I've just been jumping in and doing the show
Oh,
when,
okay.
when needed.
Because usually it's Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
every other Tuesday. We've got United Way. They were here this week.
On Tuesday.
And I'll be off next week because it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. So,
seems
yeah,
to me you
well,
were
I-
beating up on the city of Bismarck, and it was great.
All right.
Thank you.
When I can, I listen to Jim, and he does not shy away from anything. Let's put it that way.
No, he picks topics that I would think people would want
Yeah.
to weigh in on. So
Yeah.
it was good.
Well, they're starting to.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, now that we've blown up Jim's ego, rightfully so.
Right.
Let's talk housing.
Well, that's why we're here, right?
And interest rates. All right. So, Freddie Mac does their survey.
Yep.
And this week, their survey showed that the 30-year mortgage rate fell 2 basis points to 3.88% this week. That was down from last week when it was 3.9.
Right.
Hey, okay.
And that was down from the week before when it was like 3.6 or
Right.
3.96.
Yeah. Okay. So, however, they're qualifying this week's statement. They said
They went down, but wait, there's more.
They say the majority of our survey was conducted prior to Tuesday's sell-off in the bond market, which drove Treasury yields higher. And guess what? They were They were smart to qualify their survey this week because guess what happened? Rates went up. Mortgage rates yesterday hit their highest rates in more than 2 weeks. So I'm glad Freddie Mac clarified that. They knew their survey was going to be off.
Turn around, okay.
Real quick. But it was those darn Europeans.
Yeah.
Super Mario brother
Yeah.
from over there in Italy. He's the head of the European Central Bank. And he made some comments that led investors to believe that Europe was going to start tapering their bond purchases. Okay, which we went through here with the Federal Reserve, started doing that back in 2012, 2013. Right. And, of course, that had an effect. That's when rates had been at their lowest, and they started slowly climbing up. So, of course, he said that, and the bond markets went, whoa! The investors went,
Sell it.
we got to get out of this. They're going to start tapering and not buy our stuff and all this. So, and, of course, then he had to come out. That was on Tuesday, and then he came out Wednesday to try and clarify.
Yeah. I didn't mean I'm going to sell them all.
Yeah. Well, it was what they were saying. It was unnamed sources at the European Central Bank was clarifying what he said. That it was just meant as guidance. It wasn't. They're not going to do it now, or it's all this stuff. We knew what you meant. You're going to start doing this at some point this year, and you really have no. They have no choice.
They really don't over there.
Yeah, they have no choice. They don't have the money to keep buying it. And they could keep printing the euro, I guess, but that's not going to work out too well. So anyway, net effect was rates probably went up from, conventional side. You were probably getting a 3.875 rate, Monday with Freddie's survey, and now as of yesterday and today, you're probably looking closer to 4. Or paying some higher closing costs, that sort of thing.
Right.
So if you missed locking on like Monday, you could get a little higher rate as of today. And today they are going up still more.
Yeah, by the way, we did recommend on last Thursday.
Did you?
That you should lock.
Way to go, Greg. You called it, man. You're the guy. Okay. Now, more federal news stuff with rates and all that. We haven't talked about this for a while, but, we got Fannie and Freddie are sitting out there still in conservatorship.
Yep.
And they keep threatening they're going to fix them and do
Yep.
something. Mnuchin. Is that how you say the Treasury Secretary's name?
Yep, I think
Mnuchin.
so. Close enough.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with minutia.
Minutia or anything like that. It's Mnuchin. Yeah, Steve Mnuchin. So they're looking to, they're threatening we're going to fix them, and the Congress says they're going to fix them and all this stuff. Well, now we got a couple other senators that came out with a new plan.
Oh, good.
So we have another plan on the table. And, of course, these guys have been around before down this road. Bob Corker from Tennessee
Yes.
and Mark Warner from Virginia.
Corker
A
Warner.
Republican and a Democrat.
Right.
Trying to work together on this. And I give the guys credit. They're at least throwing ideas out there and trying to do something. They aren't getting any cooperation from anybody. But they want to split Fannie and Freddie up. Multifamily, push that aside, put that in one, make that a whole new entity,
Okay.
and then single family. And then their idea is they want to split, especially Fannie because it's so big, they want to split Fannie up into a whole bunch of little companies on the single family side. That's their plan. No, what I found is the first thing my thought was, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because you're going to have a CEO of that one and a CEO of that one and whatever.
It's federal jobs creation is what it is.
And you go down further. This article came from Mortgage News Daily, and a guy commented on it. And he said, Ted Rude from MB Financial Bank, I don't know where he's located at. He said, Ted says, I can certainly see paring off Fannie's multifamily business, but further splitting their single-family portfolio sounds like a sure recipe to increase overhead. How much more would be spent on management, admin, facilities, and how would that overhead benefit consumers?
Excellent question.
That's what popped into my head. I think it popped into your head. No, there's another bunch of groups out there, some community lenders
Right.
Group, and that they want to just release the GSEs as they are. Fannie and Freddie, just take them out of the conservatorship. Let them, no more Treasury draws. The Treasury's been drawing all their profits.
Oh, yeah.
So they basically have no capital anymore.
Right.
They're going to have zero capital by the end of this year. So if something did go bad with them, if they started experiencing a whole bunch of losses, guess what? The Treasury is going to have to
Come in and bail
come
them
through
out.
and bail them out. So this group is saying, hey, let's just take them out of conservatorship, let them keep their profits, and just go about doing the business that they were doing before.
Right.
And then put some, backstop to it. If a real bad thing happens, hey, the Treasury would step in again. To me, we've talked about, Joe and I have talked about that on this show. That's what we think should happen. Is just let them go back to doing their show stuff. So anyway, we'll come back. Jim, we're doing, in celebration of the 4th of July,
The British invasion.
we're doing British invasion music today.
Yeah.
All right.
All the early stuff.
Okay, sounds good. What do we got first on Dave Clark 5? All right. We'll be back on the record album.
Right now, 63.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Oh, it's all over now. It's the Rolling Stones, the British invasion, coming back to get us.
Just in time for Independence Day.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, Jim's he is a provocateur.
Yes, he is.
We talked about that in the opening segment. He is. He's playing British invasion music for the 4th of July celebration. I tell you.
Gentleman of
No.
German extraction is saying, what can we do to tick him off today?
Since that was the Rolling Stones doing It's All Over Now, this day in 1967, a couple of the boys got in a little trouble.
It was all over.
It was all over for them. It could have been.
Yes.
But Keith Richards, the guitar player, was found guilty of allowing his property to be used for the smoking of marijuana and was sentenced to 1 year in jail. Now, today, here we are, 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
And we have medicinal marijuana in North Dakota.
Yeah.
I think things have moved along since 1967.
Well,
a little
they've
bit.
moved.
They've moved, yeah. And Mick Jagger was also found guilty. He was in the house.
Oh.
And he was found guilty of illegal possession of PEP pills, P-E-P, PEP
Illegal
pills.
possession of PEP pills.
I would guess that was probably speed.
I would guess.
Yeah. He was sentenced to 3 months in jail. They both got out after 2 days when the charges were dismissed. So for whatever that was worth. All right, Greg, there. Home sales.
Home sales.
You're a realtor. That's important to you.
It is.
Yeah, it's important to me too.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're
we
a
like
lender.
to have home sales. But NAR report, National Association of Realtors, said lopsided conditions are dragging down pending home sales.
That is correct.
Pending home sales failed to rise as expected in May for the third straight month. And so that's going down. Now there is some obviously concern about that, and it's mostly related to supply shortages. This is nationwide, obviously. So what I would like to see, what you think related to this and related back to our market here. They're saying nationally, NAR is saying it's a result of ongoing supply shortages and resulting home price increases in many metro areas. Let's see. NAR says the shortages are most severe in the lower price ranges, which we've talked about.
Yep.
April sales of homes under $100,000 were down 7.2% from May 2016, and sales rose only 2% for those between $100,000 and $250,000. In higher price brackets, sale increases 26% for homes priced between $750,000 and $1 million, and 29% for those selling $1 million or more. Now, how would
That's
you?
down or up?
That is up.
Yeah.
They increased that much over, both 26 and 29%. So, Bismarck market, how do you think that relates to Bismarck Mandan's market?
Well, Bismarck Mandan, North Dakota in general kind of does the opposite of what the nation does.
Yeah, we like that.
We kind of do.
We like to do that.
We have right now a very, very stable market. Average home price is off for the year. Less than 1%, but we're publishing it as 1%. The median home price is off less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
We have well over a 3-year inventory in the upper level houses. Now, when you get into million plus houses, we don't have them for all
a lot.
Practical purposes.
Yeah.
One or two. I think there's 2 on the market now.
Okay.
So that's really not a factor in our market.
Yeah.
But that 500,000 and up, that market, we have at least a 3-year inventory, which means, if you take how many of those sell in a month,
and
then look at how many you've got, we've got a 3-year plus inventory.
3 years,
right?
Holy cow! Okay,
and those houses, that market is coming down, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's not that the market is bad, but we're not a community that has a plethora, like that word, a whole bunch.
Big word on a Thursday morning, I'll tell you that.
We just don't have a lot of buyers in that market.
Yeah.
But those who do, if they don't see exactly what they want on the market, they'll build it.
Yeah, okay.
And so we're still building in that range. Home builders are in that range. They're busy, but it's not reflecting back in the sales.
Yeah. What I found interesting at North Dakota Housing, we buy loans from all over the state.
Right.
Okay. So far this year, our average price is down over all the state, but it's very much there's pockets where it's down. The big one was Stark County is down a whole bunch, and Burley Morton County is down in our market, the first-time home buyer primarily. But places like Fargo, Grand Forks, it's up. The home prices are up, so it's pocket. But overall, Stark and Burley have created enough of a difference where it's come down a little bit.
Right.
Overall state. So I guess we see that in some real hot markets, which Fargo I guess is really experiencing a hot market. Their prices are up higher. So
and we're going to see a turn on that. We have a pretty strong inventory right now. I wouldn't say it's a high inventory, but it's a strong inventory. And those houses turn, that corner will turn. But like I said, and it's down, but it's not down significantly overall. It's just it's a little turn in the market. And if you're a seller right now, you can practice some patience or understand that this is not the same market as it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When your neighbor put their house on the market and got more than they asked for it, and it sold in 2 days.
Right. Yeah. And
that market
I've noticed, just looking on the MLS listing, some houses come on below, it's below 250, say, and they go pretty quick. They're they're on that listing and then hey, they're off.
Right.
And then there's a handful that kind of stay there, and I don't it looks to me like it's more these really smaller homes,
Right.
size wise, and
Detached garages.
Yeah, detached garages. No, maybe no yard big enough where you can build.
Yep.
A bigger garage or anything like that.
Yeah.
So there's some limitations on the property. Those are the ones that seem like they're difficult to sell. And they're just going to take longer.
Yeah,
till
but
you
that's not
let
new.
fire.
They've
No,
always
that's
been
normal.
difficult to sell.
That's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to realize, the property you have, how marketable is it to
That's
certain
right.
segments. Yeah,
That's
makes a
right.
difference.
And folks, if you built a house, built it just the way you want it, then you have to find you to buy it.
Yeah, like you put a pool in,
Yeah.
you got to have another person that wants a pool.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of the same thing. If a house was on the market for a while when you bought it, it'll probably be on the market for a while when you go to sell it.
That's a good idea.
It follows.
It could. Hey,
Right.
that buyer comes along right away, but it can take a while. Yeah.
Unless you do a lot of stuff to it, change the character of it.
Yeah.
But the housing market is good. There's some people that are sitting on homes longer than they would like, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some that are going right away. It's just,
Yeah.
you know.
No, just to get back to the the overall thing here in the country, housing inventory, is a big issue nationwide, and Lawrence Yoon, your economist at National Association of Realtors.
Yeah, we call him Lair.
Lair?
No. You call him Dr. Yoon.
Dr. Yoon is what you call him? Okay, all right. Just so I know that if I meet him.
Well, we're going to talk to him eventually here.
I'm not calling him a Lair.
So, no.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you clarified that for me. No, Dr. Yoon said housing shortages look to intensify and may well turn into a housing emergency if the discrepancy between housing demand and housing supply widens further. And what he's concerned about is the falling housing starts and housing permits. So on the home building side, they went down in May also. And that concerns him because we're still creating jobs in the economy. And normally that translates into more demand for home ownership. And he's seeing that, so now we've got a housing shortage, and if the builders aren't building enough new stuff, you've got a real crisis.
Right.
And could that happen in Bismarck, Mandan? I suppose if builders aren't building the lower end, if they're busy, like you said, with $500,000 homes, well, that's where they're obviously going to go.
Right.
Some of them, will that cause any issues here in North Dakota? We don't know, but it's like you said, we like to do things differently here.
That's right.
Sometimes
this whole thing that and Dr. Yoon really went into detail on that in his blog piece coming off of NAR website. We don't have developed land. Right. It takes like 3 years to develop land to where it's buildable. It only gets longer as we do all the environmental things people think we need to do. You know, we have to have watershed studies. We have to have all these environmental impact studies, and that takes a development a long time to get done. Now, Bismarck, Mandan are both updating their watershed policies as we speak so that they're ready for this. But we are running out of lots that are reasonable lots. As we know, lots are getting more and more expensive. They're struggling right now with, does the city pay to put in the streets and stuff and then charge the developer back specials, or does the developer put it in the price of the lot? Yeah. What's good, what's bad? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? And that's a whole show all in itself. Yeah. So we're a little short on lots. We're short on those sorts of things. And as a result of that, the builders are not really, they don't have a real appetite to build spec homes.
Right.
Yeah. The market being what it is, they want $1 in hand before they invest dollars on a spec home. They're not building homes to have there to shop. They'll build a house that you want, but I can think of some of the entry-level builders always would have 5 or 6 homes going that you could go look at. This is a new home. And they're not doing that.
Right. Yeah. No,
to the same extent.
You have to look at the.
They'll have one, and then you select from pictures.
Right.
And so that's a changing market, but it's all It's all fluid, and there's lots of other impacts. But the housing market is a housing market.
Yeah.
People are it goes up and down. It's cyclical. Yeah. People are always going to want to have their own home. It's still the best way to build wealth in the United States. And so, I don't know, you know, unless you hit it big with some .com thing, but or hit the lottery.
Yeah. No, the home builder said that the drop in building starts was not unexpected because a lot of stuff was pulled forward earlier this spring, and they said home completions are up, so homes are getting done, but they're still struggling nationwide with a shortage of labor.
Right, shortage of labor, shortage of material, shortage of lots.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, we will come back on the Dakota Housing Network, Greg and Dave and Jim, and we're going to talk about a survey done by a company called Redfin about home buyers. But we're doing in celebration of the 4th of July, we're doing the British invasion music and The Who with My Generation.
Right now, 63.
On Twitter, Facebook, online, and YouTube. SuperTalk1270.com.
All right. We're back on the Dakota Housing Network. Jerry and the Pacemakers. Ferry. Oh, I have to get this right.
Ferry crossed the Mersey.
Crossed the Mersey.
Yeah. The Liverpool Sound.
In honor of Independence Day, we are doing the British invasion this morning, folks.
We're playing all the early stuff. We'll get some Peter and Gordon on in just a couple of minutes here in the Moody Blues.
So if anybody has a complaint about that, you can call 663-1270 and talk to our resident provocateur, as Greg called him, Jim Walsh.
Remember that scene from the movie Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood picture? Yes. With it was Richard Harris as the British cowboy and Gene Hackman, who got really ticked off because Richard Harris was talking about the Queen on Independence Day.
Okay.
So he kicked him in the hoo-hoo and put him in jail. Yeah. It was great.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
Yeah, that was that won Eastwood his first Academy Award, didn't it?
Yeah, Best Picture, Best Actor, Best a lot
Director.
Of things. Yeah,
he directed. He did the whole thing now.
I saw that movie a bunch of times. It's a real education if you're interested at all in making movies.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we all know where Clint went after that. He did really well.
Yeah, he's talking to the chair at the Republican convention.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, we're back on the Dakota Housing Network. Dave Flohr, along with my partner in crime this morning, Greg Larson.
Hello, hello.
And our, as I said, resident provocateur, Mr. Jim Walsh on the board.
Yo.
Okay, Greg.
Yes.
This I don't know, raised my flagpole or my interest and piqued my interest.
That's a very Freudian statement.
Whatever. Yeah. Redfin did a survey.
Good old Redfin. Reliable as dust.
Probably, but it was an interesting survey. They did 3,300 people in 11 metropolitan areas, so a little bit concentrated.
Right.
I didn't see where those metropolitan areas were. It's probably in here somewhere. Okay. Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, Denver, etc. Okay.
So it's right in our wheelhouse.
Right in our wheelhouse. But this is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. The 6 major findings from this survey, and the one that really got my interest was 33% of people who bought a home in the last year made an offer without first seeing the home in person. That's up from 19% a year ago. Now, if we went to 20 years ago, that number would probably be 0.
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
10 years ago, probably closer to 0 than 33%, but now it's up. Now, obviously, what they asked some questions about this when they did the survey, and they said, and actually millennials, it was 41%. Okay. So, and they said, obviously what's driving that is the number of photos that are out there, the
video
3D
feeds,
technology, the video, and that is driving this, that you feel comfortable enough after seeing these pictures, and you see fantastic technology that's there to present a house on the internet, and people feel comfortable that that's where I want to buy. No, and what's the new
Matterport?
Matterport. I always think Matterhorn.
Yeah.
But Matterport is this new technology where you as a real estate agent, you go in, you do this picture thing, and it's a special camera, special program. Yeah.
And it develops a 3D floor plan where you can just walk through the house and look at it.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
I looked at one that was on the site. I think it was And anyway, it's very cool to go through and look, and you
Yeah.
really do get a flavor for.
Yeah,
the
there
house.
are several agents in Bismarck that do that, and then
Yeah.
of course my agency does it.
Said the broker
Broker does
bought
it. Yeah,
bought the technology
Right.
for everybody to utilize if you
Right.
want it. So that's going to become that's going to be the norm
yeah,
pretty quickly. That
Yep.
all the homes are going to. That's how you're going to see
yeah.
this.
And there are several apps other than Matterport that you can buy to walk through on your phone, but they aren't nearly as effective. They don't develop the floor plan like
Yeah.
this does.
So I just thought that was interesting. That it's 33% overall, 41% of the
Right.
young people, the real homebuyer wheelhouse today, the millennial generation, very comfortable with doing that. Sight not sight unseen.
Yeah.
It's just I haven't personally been in the house.
Yeah, I have
And
done
wanna
that
make an offer.
a few times where folks coming from Minneapolis or something, and they've gotten a hold of me through a reference, a referral, and they'll want to see houses, and they'll look at them and look at all the pictures. And we can, in the Bismarck-Mandan MLS, we can put up to 99 photos
Yeah.
on site. So you'll see like 30 or 40 photos. Well, some folks, you can't always trust a photo to be totally accurate. So they'll send me to the house, and I'll walk through it, and I'll live stream it on my phone, and they can ask questions as we go along.
And I've noticed realtors doing it, but just posting it like on Facebook.
Yeah,
I've seen where they're live and they're walking through
Right.
the house.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's up.
yeah. And
as
I've
opposed- yeah.
I've sold a couple houses like that in the last
Yeah.
2 years. One of the first houses I sold was bought sight unseen.
Oh,
This gal, I knew her when we were in high school.
okay.
Tell you how old she is.
Pretty darn young.
Yeah, right. So,
You were a child prodigy.
yes, right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent the best 10
I don't
years of
know
my
if that-
life in high school.
I don't know if that makes you younger or her younger.
I
but
don't know.
either.
Anyhow,
Okay.
she was moving back to she grew up in Mandan. She was moving back to the Bismarck area, and she wanted to live back in Mandan.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to live somewhere near her house that she grew up in.
Oh,
And the house right next door came up for sale.
boom.
She called me, said, I want to make an offer.
Because she knew the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, just an offer now? You don't want me to at least walk through it and tell you if there's things that need to be repaired? She said, no, I've always loved the house. I want the house. I'll fix what needs to be repaired. Obviously, she was someone that had some means.
Yeah.
And so we did. We wrote an offer
Yeah.
that day.
And she obviously knew the house.
She knew the house.
been in
She
there.
knew the things she liked about it.
Sure.
And
yeah.
she bought it, and she restored it back to the way it was when it was built back in the early 1900s. I think it was a 1918 house.
Nice place, I bet.
It is very
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. And that's a really nice. Is she still living there?
Yes, yes.
Someday somebody's going to get a great house because I bet
Yeah.
she went in and really did it.
She really
things right,
did. Yeah.
And it's going to be taken care of. And
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have a great old house someday
Right.
beyond when she's not there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, a couple other things from that survey that Redfin did. Buyers' most common economic concern was affordable housing.
Yep.
1 in 5 said rising home prices caused them to search in another area. Now, this one I felt kind of was interesting also. Many buyers reported hesitations about moving to a place where most people have political views different from their own. Now, I don't know if that would apply to here in North Dakota so much, but in these bigger metro areas, that is probably a legitimate concern for some people.
Well, yeah, based on some of the nastiness we've seen in some of those areas. Yeah.
No, in millennials, again, we're more likely than older people to be concerned about this. But then does that really, that's not a good thing in my mind. If that's a concern of yours and you're only going to want to live with people that think the way you do, you're going to be, that's a different kind of segregation.
Sort of like Los Angeles or New York City or the rest of the country.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm never going to live in Minneapolis or Bismarck
Yeah.
because they don't think like me.
Yeah.
You know,
That's an interest. I've not heard any of that in all the research I've done.
No.
I've never seen a selection of community based on political parties, except I have had people wanting to move to a particular political district for political reasons.
Yeah, okay. And I guess maybe that might fall into this too,
Yeah.
to some extent. And the thing we don't know is, I didn't get the survey. I wasn't part of the survey, so I
Right,
don't know what the
right.
question was. How was it framed? Makes a difference. Now, if it, does that mean, like you just said, somebody asked, well, is that a concern for you? Well, maybe it was from, I don't want to move to a place where that guy's my representative.
Yeah.
Or that person's my
Yeah.
representative. I'm not going to move there,
Yeah.
but I'll move over here.
Right.
See, that seems weird to me. If I want to move to California, I'll move to California, regardless of who my representative
Right.
is. Texas, either way. I love both places for different reasons, but the politics doesn't really have a lot to do with it.
I mean, it wouldn't matter to me, I guess. But, you don't know how this question was framed, but maybe that's how it was framed.
Right.
Okay, well, I don't want to live with them. I'm going to go look in that area.
That could be.
Yeah.
That could well be. And in like New York City, they have I think 7 representatives or more just in the 5 boroughs.
Yeah.
I don't want to live where.
Well, I'm going to
That
live
guy's
in
doing it.
Queens versus Brooklyn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That, like I said, that's all the first stuff I've heard about.
Yeah,
that.
I haven't seen anything like that before either.
I
Staten Island's actually pretty conservative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And just north of New York City is very conservative.
Yeah.
I mean,
Certain neighborhoods in Brooklyn.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting. Like I said, I've had a guy move out of his political district
Yeah.
on purpose.
On purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to get away from stuff. And I've had a couple of people looking to buy in a political district for future opportunities to run for office.
Sure. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you
I could see where somebody would move out because they're never going to. That guy's never getting voted
well,
out.
yeah, no.
That person. I'm
Actually,
not gonna-
this guy moved out to get away from party pressures.
Yeah. No. Last good one. I like this one. Few buyers will stop their search if mortgage rates top 5%.
I doubt that.
That few buyers will stop.
A few.
No, few buyers will
Oh,
stop
okay.
their search
Yes,
if
I agree
mortgage
with
rates
that.
go up to
I
5%.
agree with
That's
that.
a good thing.
Yeah.
People are smart enough to realize mortgage rates at 5% are pretty darn good.
Right.
Yeah. So that's encouraging. Okay, so we're going out on our break. What do we got, Jim?
Peter and Gordon, I Go to Pieces.
All right.
A song written by Del Shannon. It was a big hit for him stateside.
All right. Celebrating Independence Day with British Invasion.
You got it.
Today.
When I see her coming down the street.
Currently 66 degrees.
Weekends with Twilight Zone Radio on Super Talk 1270.
We've already said
Moody Blues with Denny Lane, who of course later joined McCartney's backup band.
So, no, they did. This was a hit for Wings with Paul and Denny.
Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But it was originally done by the Moody Blues.
Well, actually, the original was an R&B version, rhythm and blues version.
Okay.
And then they did this version, had the big hit with it.
Okay.
And then you say Paul did a version of it?
With Paul McCartney and Wings, there was a hit for them too.
Okay.
So this song is obviously very popular.
Don't forgive it
with people. It's a nice sounding song.
Yeah. Kind of like a jazz waltz thing going on there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back on the Dakota Housing Network celebrating Independence Day with British Invasion music. That's Jim Walsh's idea, not Greg or I.
yeah.
Throw the big bats at this speaker.
663-1270.
Yeah.
Throw your complaints at Jim. All
My
right.
big deal is today is the day we said goodbye to Jane Mansfield.
Oh,
She
yes.
wrecked her Porsche.
Not good.
Nope.
How old was she when
She
happened?
wasn't very old. It
She was
was
less than
1967.
30?
She would have been all of 30.
Yeah. Okay.
know.
All right. Young. Too young.
Yep.
Like a lot of people. All right. No, this is something I didn't know about. We were talking on the break. Greg, you were aware of this, that it existed.
Yeah.
I had not heard of this before, but there was a franchise company out there that did franchises called We Buy Ugly Houses.
Inc.
And one of the a former owner of a We Buy Ugly Houses franchise, she got herself in trouble doing it, working and basically flipping houses.
Right.
And she basically got charged with running a Ponzi scheme. And she got people to invest in this. She originally started this. They opened a franchise. They named it Trademark Properties and Trademark Realty in Colorado Springs.
Okay, that's a good thing it's not in this state.
It's not in North Dakota. Eventually, her partner filed bankruptcy because they weren't doing well.
We should probably point out this has nothing to do with trademark realty in Bismarck.
It does not. Yes,
Not a thing, folks.
No,
Nothing.
Nothing. And she did not file bankruptcy. Her name is, what is her name? Laura McClaughlin. Karen McClaughlin. Anyway, she kept going. She changed the name of the company to Home Source Partners. She took all her investors with her from the other company to this new one. She kept telling them she'd buy a house. She needed the money because the bank loans took too long and they needed to move fast on the properties, right? So what she was doing is she would sell each investor's money would buy a new house. This was what she told them, and then they got a deed of trust on the property. Okay, now in Colorado it's deed of trust versus a mortgage. Okay, so anyway, she got this deed of trust. All right. Well, she didn't always. She was doing multiple deeds of trusts on the same property. And she kept asking for more money, etc. And she would then sell the homes and not tell people that the whole home sold. And then it got to the point where she had to start paying investors, so she'd get new investors and pay them old ones back with that new money, and it finally fell apart, which these things always do.
Right.
Moral of the story is she's now, federal charges. She copped to them all. And it doesn't say what her sentence is going to be or anything, or she's scheduled to be sentenced. And the moral of the story is be very careful about investing in real estate or anything else that seems too good to be true. She promised anywhere from 6 to 15% return on investment, guaranteed. Well, you're investing; it's not guaranteed.
Right.
That's the main thing to remember. Okay, so.
Kind of like the pump and dump stock deals that are going right now.
Yeah.
I got one of those calls the other day.
Okay, yeah. Got to be careful, folks. No, the other thing on Better News, and I had never heard of We Buy Ugly Houses before, but you say it's no longer.
I don't think they're around anymore. It was a legitimate house flipping franchise.
She took it to the extreme.
Yeah, where you bought the franchise and then you got their whole kit on how you buy a house in distress.
So it was like one of the infomercial things.
Exactly.
Do make all this money in real estate.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. No, on good news, there's a report out about what are the 5 top states for people paying their mortgages on time. Top 5, North Dakota was number 2.
There you go.
Colorado, North Dakota, Minnesota, Idaho, Oregon.
Colorado was number 1.
Colorado was number 1.
I'll be darned.
Very impressive for them.
Wonder what the percentage of homeowners is as opposed to renters.
Well, that's, again, you get a report and you don't know everything in it till you'd have to weed through all that. Yeah. What's that ratio? Where in North Dakota, it's maybe a little bit higher.
North Dakota's one of the highest.
Yep.
Yeah, overall on that, just a quick subject, we are at an all-time low of percentage of adults who own homes as opposed to rent.
Yes. We're nationwide.
Yeah.
Right. It's like 60. Are we down to 63%?
I believe we are.
Yeah.
Which is a low since
the 50s.
World War II.
Yeah.
When people came out of World War II.
Yeah. Since the 50s. So.
Yeah.
Which is, there's a lot of reasons for that, which we talk about all the time here. So the foreclosure crisis and millennials not wanting to buy homes yet and delaying home buying, all that stuff. There are a lot of reasons for that, but a lot of people are really, really concerned about it. Probably rightfully so. It should be a little bit higher. Probably, I think people compare it to where it was in, say, 2007, 2006, where it was at almost 70%. And now it's probably, I don't know if we should ever get back to that.
Right.
Probably.
Well, it's the same old deal, the figures don't lie, but liars figure, kind of a thing.
Something like that.
You take away what's really driving that down. One of the big things that's driving that down is fewer people are owning vacation homes.
Oh, okay.
If you look at primary homeowner statistics, they're up from that. They're still low from where they have been, but they're up from that. So
less people owning second homes, so to speak.
Right.
which you could see that's what people divested themselves of.
Correct.
You know, in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Because for financial reasons. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. But that's just one reason. All the other reasons are also there.
But then, you know, you have an awful lot of people in North Dakota that went down to Arizona and bought
That's
homes.
right. That's right. Again, we're not following the norm.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people that did that.
Snowbirds.
Yeah.
Snowbirds, or just people went and bought a home.
Oh, I think half of
rented
Fort
them.
Myers is former North Dakota people.
They're renting
Florida.
them till they decide to move down there permanently.
Yep.
You know, in a lot of cases. So yeah, interesting. No, another problem they talk about nationally is appraiser shortage.
It is. There's
And
a big shortage.
You know, we could spend a lot of time on that, and we probably should get an appraiser in here someday.
Should do that.
to talk about it.
We talked briefly about it last week, just about appraisers. Probably the best source of a drone use in real estate would be appraisers and inspectors.
Yeah. Now, there is this appraiser shortage nationwide.
Right.
Guess what? The feds are going to come in and fix it.
Sure they are.
Yep.
Okay, great.
And you know what they're going to do?
Drones.
No.
What?
The Federal Reserve, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the National Credit Union Administration, and the Office of the Comptroller of Currency issued an advisory that highlights options that they will allow depository institutions and bank holding companies to facilitate the timely consideration of loan applications. That's the official
That'll
word from
fix
them.
it. Okay.
I have no
Could
idea what I
you
just read.
translate? Yeah, I was going to say, you need
Okay.
a translation there.
So, but here's what they're going to do. This is from the advisory note. They're going to allow temporary practice permits. Allows appraisers credentialed in one state to provide their services on a temporary basis in another state that is experiencing a shortage, subject to state law. Now, if I get an appraiser from Texas that wants to come up to North Dakota,
Right.
he's not going to know the market.
No.
That's not going to be very helpful.
It's not going to help.
Okay. Number 2, temporary waivers. Temporary waivers set aside requirements relating to the certification or licensing of individuals to perform appraisals under the title of whatever.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, and so anyway, that can be the temporary waivers can be granted when it is determined that there is a scarcity of state certified or licensed appraisals. Is that going to help?
No.
No. Okay. Well, that's what the Fed says they're going to do.
Well, so they waive someone who isn't well trained
Yeah.
to not be well trained
That would-
and
that would-
do appraisals.
Okay, you're not trained, and then you bring a guy from Texas that
Who's not
doesn't know
trained.
the market.
That's
Who's
good.
That'll fix things, Jim. In case you didn't realize that.
You say so.
I not me saying it. It's the feds.
They're here to help.
All right, so Jim's kicking us off the air now.
Yeah.
With a heart full of soul.
Heart full of soul from
right.
the Yard to Birds.
Happy 4th of July, folks.
Happy 4th of July. We will be back next week on
Yes.
the Dakota Housing Network.